Hello everyone, been a minute. I've been very ill. However, the ELF has slowly started to get into our 2025 signings, and I've talked about them a lot on my Instagram. Haven't done much on my YouTube because I've been sick, my voice has not been working, so I wanted to run through some of them today. Very much just chilled vibes. I'm not going to be going too over the top. I haven't got much access to tape on some of them. I'll try and flash up as much as I really can when it comes to some of these guys. But like I said, my voice kind of going, so if I do sound a little bit horrible, you know why. However, I got 10 of them. Some of them earlier in the off-season phase, some of them more recently, and obviously some of the big blockbuster signings, as well as ones I want to talk about. I'm going to be grading them on the A to F, or A star to F. We won't have many Fs at all, and the majority of these are going to be very high grades because it's the first signings of the season. These are the guys that have been approached first or put pen to paper first, so you can imagine a lot of them are going to be high grades. That being said, let's actually get into the first of our 2025 signings. This is probably the biggest signing of the season so far. Former MVP, All-Star, Championship Game MVP, two-time champion, a player that's been increasingly good throughout the seasons. He peaked with his touchdowns 2023 during his MVP campaign, but I think towards the latter half of this season we saw him come into his own, a lot more accurate than seasons gone by. Great arm, picks apart teams, incredibly intelligent. He's a vet. Like, he's been literally around Europe for like a decade, so if there's anyone you're going to bring in to start a new team, it might just be Jadrian Clark. And of course, the whole big thing of him leaving a two-time champion on a three-peat run to join a completely new team in the Nordic Storm is in itself a topic of discussion around the league. But in terms of just him as a player, it's an A+ signing, right? It's got to be. You get a former MVP who holds the best quarterback season in the league's short history. And he didn't show any like signs of decline. He wasn't great at the start of this season, but we all know he was kind of dealing with some injuries. And you get him in. There's not really much of a question. I think some people have doubted whether he can do it without an elite team. We don't know what this team's going to look like. The expectation is that it's going to be an extremely elite team and an instant title contender. But him making this step for me is incredibly important. I think that he is taking a risk. Naturally, joining a team with no players, he is the first player that has signed, and he's not the only player we're going to talk about that has signed. But I like the move for both parties, for every party. People want parity in the league. And Ryan 5 just lost their OC, their quarterback, their running back, and a few other pieces that we'll again get to in a minute. We get a new Nordic Storm team, which they're going to be happy about getting a former MVP and one of the faces of the league. He's probably happy because he gets to explore more of Europe and have this like high expectations of him. But it's an obvious A+ signer. I think it's kind of got to be. I don't think there's anyone's going to be arguing that. From an American MVP, an All-Star and face of the league, we go to a British All-Star MVP, face of the league. Who's also leaving the Ryan Fire to join the Nordic Storm is Glen Tonga. Just coming off the best season in ELF history, arguably maybe even European history. 30 touchdowns, a championship game, an MVP, 1,500 yards. Has still not scored in like well over a calendar year. He had, I think, the most 100-yard games in ELF season bar Madrid London, and he was outstanding. I mean, you've all seen the tape by now. If you haven't, then I don't know how you are finding this channel, but he's been outstanding. He is moving to the Nordic Storm as well. Again, we don't know what that O-line is going to look like, and that's a big thing. We will get to one of the Nordic players that has chosen not to sign with them in a second, but these two are going to make out the backfield. They've been together for a couple of years now. We'll see how that translates into a new team without as many weapons as the Ryan Fire on paper so far. Again, we're going to see how they develop during this offseason. But it's kind of got to be another A+ grade, right? You get another MVP, you get the current MVP, you get the current championship game MVP that they've both been outstanding. I think the big thing that I really am interested to see during this 2025 season is how both of them do without Andrew Wandinger in charge of their offense. They've both experienced their best seasons with Andrew in their career. I think that's pretty undoubtable. So they're moving in. They've got John Shoup as the head coach of the team. He's an incredible offensive mind, formerly the Munich Ravens, and then was at the Rhein Fire this year as well. So he has experience with both of them. I have no doubt they're going to be great. I don't want people to get it twisted and say that I think they're going to fall off or something. I think it's just going to be interesting to see the differences in scheme, or maybe even the similarities in scheme between these two different builds of squads. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Aside from Glenn, if you're going to want to look at him as a player, if you somehow don't know what he's looked like, when he is a player, he's tough, he's going to run through a motherfucker's face, he is athletic, he's physical, he's a red zone threat when it comes to just getting the ball where you need it to go, great jump cut, can spin, move and hurdle any way he wants to as well. So he's a fantastic running back. Both of these guys are immediate A+ signings. I do not think many people expected this to happen. I heard rumbles of this a while ago and I was thinking, I don't buy it. But then it's come. Aaron Jackson is going to be a Helvetic mercenary in 2025, leaving behind the Berlin Thunder, where he was my number one receiver last year. He had over 1,200 yards, he had 11 touchdowns, spectacular on the kick returns and punt returns as well. He's a phenomenal player. Some of the best hands in the league, electrifying. There's a reason why Ajax is so beloved within this league. It's because he is such an entertaining player and he is a serious difference maker at the wide receiver position. Helvetic. I know who they're going to get at quarterback. Other people do not, because I can't say just yet, but it's going to be announced probably rather soon. It's going to be very different. I don't know how this team's going to look without the homegrowns that they had last season. If you don't know, there's been quite a lot going on with the homegrown situation in Helvetic. Stuff that I am not qualified to talk about, sadly, because that's going on over there and I'm over here in the UK. Whatever happens, I would like to see Ajax in the best supporting system, because on paper this is an A+ signing. I don't think anyone's going to doubt that. One of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in the league, joins your team. It's a good signing nevertheless. It's just, I have questions on how productive he's going to be able to be in Helvetic, because Berlin is just a better team and they do have more homegrown players to pull from and more quality within that team, and it's honestly a more attractive position to bring players into, let's be honest. So it's an A+, but this one does have a lot of questions on how they're going to manufacture the team around Ajax to give him the best opportunity for success. If you aren't following me on Instagram, you would have missed my Shades of with Nico Barrow, and I compare him to some of the other running backs in the league at the moment with his style of play. So I won't spoil that too much. You can go and investigate that yourself, and I will keep this one rather brief. But Nico has signed to the Madrid Bravos with Andrew Wandinger as the head coach. Not the only player that he's brought in so far, and we'll get to that, but it's looking a very fun offense. He can receive out of the backfield. He's a physical running back. He's accomplished, but he's coming off an injury, and that's a big thing. I think for me this one's going to be an A, not an A+, because he's not an MVP like the other guys. He hasn't led the league in anything yet. This is his debut season. He is eligible, I believe, to be a Rookie of the Year. It might be a bit early, but currently I think that he is going to be the Rookie of the Year, and if that works well, I'll clip this one, but he's my way too early prediction, given that we've had about 15 players signed for the Rookie of the Year in 2025. I alluded earlier to a Nordic region player that has elected not to go to the Nordic Storm, and that's Steven Nielsen, who, by my account and many other people in the league's account, is the best offensive lineman in the league. He has played in the CFL, and I was a coach recently came out, I can't remember who it was, and said that he's probably pretty fucking close to playing in the NFL. Phenomenal player, big, athletic, quick, angry, strong. Like, you can, all of these great offensive line words you can put into him, and he fits into all of them. He has a combination of everything. Like I said, he is my #1 offensive lineman in the league, and it's no offense to the other guys on the list, it's not particularly close. And I've talked to a lot of offensive linemen in the league, and they agree that he is head and shoulders above most people. Phenomenal player, and he is re-signed to the Frankfurt Galaxy, which I was a little bit surprised about. And I know the Galaxy are kind of on a reload of a reload, because last year they said they were going to reload and they were shit. This year, I've heard rumblings of some of the other players they brought in, and Steven Nilsson is a massive cornerstone of that team. If they want to win, they would have had to retain him, and they did. He's a left tackle for this team. Would start at every team. So for them to get him immediate A+, there's nothing wrong. If he was asking for that largest contract in AFL history, I'd fucking give it to him personally. So it's a great start for them in terms of getting back up to where they want to be. Former champions fell off a little bit this year. There have been rumours of the alignment rules with them coming maybe into the Central or into the East, but we'll see. And this is a great place to start. Mr. 78 is eligible. Yasir Raji. How do you even grade Raji? Because he plays fucking everywhere. He played tackle, guard, running back, tight end, receiver, like fullback. I would expect him to even pass for a touchdown because he's rushed for one, he's caught one, he's blocked for him as well. So we're going to see how he does. He's an extremely versatile athlete, and that positional flexibility does give him a lot of freedom on Andrew Windinger's offenses. He's an E now. He's also one of the only offensive linemen on a Ryan Fire team that wasn't named an All-Star. And some people had said snub. You could argue it. I think I did argue at the time that he should have been an All-Star just for his impact. It's got to be an A+, right? Because if he played on only one position, probably give A, or higher end of A. But because he can legit play every single front seven, anything you want, he's got to be an A+. Like, he provides you with so much athleticism on the offensive line that I would dare say no one can compete with. Like, have you fucking seen this dude? He's absolutely fucking peeled, and he's an offensive lineman. So, very, very fast off the line as well. Very strong. Like, his pulling ability as well and space creation is just what really is surprising for someone. He's like 255 listed, so he is on the smaller side of an offensive lineman. But it's just that speed and that dynamicism and athleticism just really sets him apart. And because he's with Andrew again, you know that shit's going to get weird and creative. So it's got to be an A+ once again for him to go to Madrid as a position that we do not know yet. Okay, so I think this is where we're going to start getting into more controversial of my opinion. So I do like Miles Hidek, I want to make that very clear. However, I've not seen from the tape that I've seen a massive jump in his ability. I am surprised that he did not go to the Nordic Storm. He has gone to the Vorskla Panthers as their safety. He's long, very long, 6'2". He's listed that on the left one when he was at the Munich Ravens 2023. Didn't have a standout year with the Ravens. Didn't play very much. Went to New Yorker. Played better. The GFL stats are down at the moment, so I don't have any numbers on him, unfortunately. But from the tape I've watched, I do think he needs to add a bit more size if he's going to be effective in the run game. He is quick, but his cuts do not go through routes, and I would like to see some of that. I do think that he's an improvement for this team in terms of adding some youthfulness, some athleticism, and some burst, which is something they really needed because their passing defense last year was not very good. I'm just a little bit surprised that he has come in as an E, given he's still relatively unproven. He is still young. Like, he is still only 23 years old. He does have valuable experience within the GFL and the ELF, but I think I'm going to need to be proven a little bit wrong on this one and see how he develops within this scheme, because if they're expecting him to run a lot of that and be in the box, I'm not so sure he fits into that role. If they want to play him as a single high safety and go hash to hash, again, I'm not so sure. I think he would thrive more with two safeties where he can kind of rotate and not be as responsible for as much of the coverage fields. But we'll see. I'm going to give this one a B just for the commitment to his speed, his athleticism, and those factors that you can't really teach, but you can mold him into a better DB with good coaching. Reed Sinnett is an early MVP favorite, which is a very easy way to say A+ grade. Andrew Windinger knows what he wants from a quarterback. It is Reed's first European year, and I've made more charts on Instagram about quarterbacks making their debut in Europe, and usually they don't play very well. Ben Holmes is by far the best one to ever do it. But he is an A+ grade. His short intermediate game is so refined. He has a good arm. The ball is placed excellently. And at one point, you could very, very strongly argue that he was a top 100 quarterback in the world. He has been on active NFL rosters. He hasn't played in the NFL, but he's been on the rosters. You think about that, 3 quarterbacks generally on a 32 league teams. Like, there's going to be some overlap, but he was probably a top 100 quarterback at some point in his career. I think that he is going to be extremely good. And I've talked to Andrew. I talked to Andrew a lot. He's one of my mentors when it comes to scouting because of his experience within the NFL. He's very happy with him, and I can't seem to find anything to disagree with it. I think that he's going to be able to execute Andrew Windinger's offense extremely well. He's got Raji, we mentioned. He's got Nico Barrow that we mentioned. We don't know much about their other signings, but you can imagine it's going to be pretty built out with the amount of Spanish talent they actually have within that team. Like I said, he's probably the early MVP favorite, and that's insane for a debuting quarterback to come in and immediately be that hyped up. I generally don't think of many other quarterbacks that have the same resume. I don't think we've ever had one, bar NFL Europe. Definitely on the left, someone with an active NFL quarterback is very interesting. It is obviously very important to mention that both Glenn and Jadrian have had their MVP seasons under Andrew. And then when you look even before Ryan with the Dragons, Zach Edwards had like an Offensive Player of the Year MVP level season with Andrew. Like, he's probably the best offensive mind we have in Europe. So with him getting a quarterback with this level of pedigree, he would be my favorite for MVP. And if you guys disagree, do please let me know, because I'd be very interested in discussing the early MVP favorites with people. If you've been following this channel for pretty much any amount of time, you'll know how much of a fan I am of Lucas Harton-Canido. He has been in the league for 2 seasons. His first year, I predicted him to be Rookie of the Year. He didn't end up getting that many touches. Last season, he got a lot more of that starting role and was able to produce over 640 yards and 4 touchdowns. This one's a very difficult one to grade though, because they've got Fatin, who is very widely regarded as the best coach in Germany. He's been a head coach for Germany for a number of years, extremely respected within Europe. I want to see them give him the ball as a starting running back, because he hasn't had that. They've had him splitting carries 2 or 3, maybe even sometimes 4 ways, and I've said since he was a 19-year-old that he could be a bell cow running back. I'm going to give it a B, but if they give him the ball, he could break out for 1,000 yards. And I've been saying this, man. I've been saying how good he is as an athlete. He's an athletic freak. He has shown that he can be a great player. He was averaging over 5 yards to carry this season. He's an explosive playmaker. He needs to be a bit more consistent when carrying the rock in terms of going for these 5 yards. Because his average it's a little bit weighted, because he'll have a 60 and a 50 and then a 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And it will add up to about 5 yards to carry. So he does need to be a bit more consistent with that. He needs to be able to do more with some of these touches. However, I absolutely do think that he could be a 1,000 yard running back and a bell cow running back for the Hamburg Sea Devils as they try to get back up to former glory. I do really like the signing. This one's like a B, but it could easily elevate to be an A if they use him how I want them to use him. Finishing up, DJ Irons, Warsaw Panthers quarterback, and I was a little bit hesitant honestly in putting him in this one because Warsaw do have such a reputation for changing quarterbacks. They've done it every single season. Before the season actually starts, they end up chopping and changing. So we'll see if DJ is still the starter when it comes into the league, because they were the second team to announce their quarterback. The other being Ben Holmes, but I left him off this list. Anywho, I'm getting a little bit distracted. DJ has a very mobile skill set. I do have doubts in the short and intermediate game. I do have doubts on the accuracy. The Warszaw Panther receivers, as of now, in terms of their homegrowns, they've not re-signed any publicly, but we kind of know most of the players they're going to have in that receiver room are not rapid. So they're space creators. They can definitely create space, and they can absolutely be effective. I've made videos on their receiver core. However, he needs either read option or he needs deep shots. That's kind of what he is, the deep shot and read option running quarterback, which historically has not worked in the ELF. If you look at all the most successful quarterbacks in the ELF, most of them are pocket passers. The only exception is Zach Edwards, Riley Hennessy, Chad Jeffries, Jacob Sullivan, Jadrian Clark, all these guys, even Erkman, they're all pocket passers by trade. So we'll see. I'm going to give it a B because I do have doubts now, short, intermediate, and also the accuracy. So there's a lot of concerns. I know that he can do it with his legs, but again, the offensive line of Warsaw was shaky last season. That's assuming they bring back the same guys, which is unlikely. So this one leaves a little bit of proving wrong. We'll see if he remains a quarterback with them due to the Panthers' reputation when it comes to this stuff. But I'm going to sit currently on a B. Okay, well done. I hope you enjoyed this more chilled retrospective kind of just sit down to discuss video because, like I said, I'm still really fucking ill. So this took a while to get through. My voice is just charred at the moment, so I do apologize. But again, if you want to keep up with me, I'm making a lot of graphics in the meantime to try and supplement the lack of videos. So yeah, got hopefully some stuff we're working on in the future that could be really exciting. Again, I kind of foreshadowed this earlier, but I'm really excited about it. And this year could be like a spectacular year, not just for the channel, but for me personally, for the ELF and everything in between. So, and you guys are the people that I should thank for that, because without you, I wouldn't be in this position of being able to make a little bit of money off YouTube and with the ELF projects and with projects within certain teams and stuff like that. So that's all things I'm really, really grateful for. Again, hope you enjoyed this just discussion. I'll see you guys next time, whenever that is. I also got glasses too, so I can actually watch more tape without like my eyes burning out. I'll stream at some point. You know how it is. I'll see you later. Thank you very much. See you soon, and